Okay, so next up, we're talking with Jackie. Jackie in Mississippi. Can you hear us?
Hello? I can hear you. How about you? Is everything going through fine?
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Jackie.
Hey, so it says in my thing that I would like to discuss the case for religious ontology discussed by Plotinus.
Wait, did I
are
talk
either
to
of
you
you
last time? Did I talk to you with Jimmy a couple weeks ago?
I talked to you with Jimmy. I forgot how long ago it was.
Yes,
Yeah,
Paul.
and you're the guy who likes to bring up esoteric theology views that aren't really core to your own personal belief, but you just think that for some reason calling up the show to chat about esoteric theology is something that the audience might care about or might persuade us about something. Is that characterizing the kind of calls you make?
I mean, I like to talk about philosophy, but I don't think the philosophy I talk about is esoteric, and I don't. And these are pretty foundational to some of my views on ontology and metaphysics.
Oh wait, so okay, so what the thing you want to talk about today is absolutely core to your belief in God. And if
Yeah,
this
I
was
mean,
proof false,
it's a pretty strong
and if
part
this
of
was proof
why I
false, you
believe
would,
in religion.
and if it was proof false, you would lower your confidence in the existence of God and your religion.
Yeah, I would lower my confidence in my metaphysical belief in God and my understanding of religion and society and religious.
Okay, so it's
claims.
at least that important. Okay, go.
So, are either of you gentlemen familiar with Plotinus and Neoplatonist philosophy in general?
No.
I see. So basically, the essential idea that Plotinus put forward is the idea of the one. So basically, Plato talks about the world of forms and the absolutes and all this. And the Plotinus took it and basically created the idea that there's a essential one being, a one ontology, which sort of, let's say, illuminates the rest of the world. And basically, so there's three hypotheses. There's first of all, there's just the one, and then there's the intellect, which is pretty hard to explain because, generally speaking, Neoplatonic philosophy does involve some esoteric concepts, but and then there's how that interacts with the physical world of forms that presents itself to us. And basically, I'm more of a philosopher of being in the Parmenian school compared to the philosophies of becoming put forward by people like Gilles Deleuze, Nietzsche, Heraclitus, etc., because I believe there is unity of phenomenology that people experience, and this unity of phenomenology points to metatruths, which are true.
So, Jackie, I need to interrupt you for a sec, not because of your ideas, but just technically. I don't know if your gain is too high, or if you're on a weird microphone, or something's happening that a lot of your words are getting lost in static. So, unfortunately, it's going to be very hard for Aron and I. And you're speaking very quickly, which is great because it's a little bit boring. So you need, but unfortunately, I cannot understand all the words you're saying. So if you can do anything to improve your sound, that would be helpful.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
So much better.
Okay, good. Basically, did you catch the part where I was arguing that unity of phenomenology across cultures?
Oh, it's going bad again. Whatever you did, it stopped working.
Okay, is this working?
That is. So if you just whatever you're doing, just hold exactly there.
Okay. So what I was arguing is that unity of phenomenology across cultures points to a philosophy of being rather than a philosophy of becoming.
Okay.
So basically that sort of argues against the sort of postmodern Deleuzian atheist standpoint that there is no meta-narrative.
What about the atheist standpoint is postmodern?
Well, the atheist viewpoint is that there's no meta-narrative, right? That's weird.
That we definitely actually do. Well, I believe I'm going to speak more broadly than Aron because Aron has a more specific view than I do. But more broadly, an atheist in broad sense would say we have no evidence of a meta narrative.
Yeah.
Well, the meta narrative, I would argue. So, if you guys are familiar with Carl Jung's psychoanalysis or analytic psychology, there are these archetypes which Jung and others in the Jungian tradition have analyzed, which ring true across society. So, for example, the hero archetype and the
Joseph Campbell, all cool, but that doesn't. That's a meta narrative. If you were not to say, does humanity have a meta narrative, I might have gone along with you. So I thought you were talking about on a cosmos level that there was a meta narrative. No. So humanity, does humanity have a meta narrative, and do we have tales that ring true to us? Sure. Because that only makes sense because we share genetics. Carry on.
Yes, and it's not quite clear that we can distinguish anything that humanity experiences from what's actually true of the cosmos, right? Like one of the things Kant and
say that again. Say that again. Hold on. You can't move on if I don't understand. Say that again in a way I will understand.
It's not evident that what we as a humanity collectively experience isn't true of reality qua reality.
But you understand that's you're just asserting that there's no evidence that doesn't hold. But do you have evidence that it does hold?
Well, so basically, the truth, as far as I'm concerned, the Darwinian definition of truth is what's beneficial for collective survival as a species.
No. Excuse me, where can I look up where can I look up the Darwinian definition of truth? Because I have a very different definition of truth than what you just described.
Well, that's one thing I've heard Jordan Peterson talk about, the difference between Darwinian truth and Newtonian truth. Newtonian truth is...
Yeah, I don't care what Jordan Peterson says.
I don't either.
What you're talking about. So the truth is what the facts are, what we can show to be true, not whatever else we might assume or imagine beyond or instead of that. That's the realm of religion. So when you say something is true or the truth, you had better be able to show the truth of it, the evidence leading to that conclusion.
Well, the truth of, say, religious narratives is that because they have wrong...
The truth of a religious narrative is that they can't show that there's any truth to it.
Okay, I'm getting there. So the truth of the religious narrative is that the sort of modern Lacanian and postmodern psychoanalysts like Julia Kristeva will say, well, there's no meta-narrative that people are aiming towards that points to a unity of the transcendent, right? But one thing Jung and to a lesser extent, Jean Piaget and the structuralists and constructivists pointed out is that the way human beings develop and construct models of truth, Piaget's genetic epistemology, involves engaging with others in society, and these show broader truths that are cross-cultural. It's not individual.
But hold on. Yeah. But I granted this. It feels like half an hour ago. I granted that humans make sense of come to common ways of making sense of the world and come to common narratives and have common values. That doesn't. You need to bring us now to, okay, humans describe things in common ways and all that kind of stuff. That does not have any bearing on a supernatural entity.
Yeah, and your citations are somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about says this, some other person who doesn't know what they're talking about says that. I don't care. But let's talk about what they can show to be true.
Well, do you not believe it can be demonstrated that there's order in the universe as opposed to disorder?
To a degree, there is order in some things and disorder in others, and our cosmos is a case of random boiling chaos, in which some things have temporarily achieved a balance, which is why they can persist as long as they have, but nothing's absolutely permanent. So there are very few absolutes.
You'd have to define order.
The whole scientific enterprise is grounded on the ability that wrestling with the tohu vavohu using biblical terms. By confronting chaos, we will extract order for it, and we'll create models which represent truth, and truth will set us free in humanity, right? The idea
It's
that
funny, none of the science classes I ever took said anything like that. We were all supposed to be tentative. We weren't supposed to believe anything absolutely. We weren't supposed to believe anything. We were supposed to question our assumptions and hold only to those things that appear to be compelling, the evidence that is compelling, and only hold to that to the degree that we can show that it is consistent. And if it turns out that our information is incorrect, or that our evidence was not as good or maybe truthful as what we thought it was once upon a time, then we will, like in my case, for example, once I realize that an argument is that my evidence is invalid or was shown to be a hoax or what have you, I don't have to change my beliefs. I have already stopped believing it. When I find out that it wasn't as well supported that it wasn't supported well enough to accept it in the first place, I already reject it. I don't believe it anymore. So you're coming at me with people who don't know what they're talking about, who say different things I don't care about, and nobody can show the truth of their statement, and I can't pretend to have any interest in what you're saying.
I agree with you that you shouldn't accept anything until there's sufficient evidence pointed towards, and which is why I'm presenting sociological data about how faith in the transcendent transforms people's lives to things like individuation, respect for human dignity, etc. And these metaphysics.
And I granted this. I granted this so long ago. And are you ever going to get to the point where you say, therefore, something supernatural?
Well, it's sort of like Kant talked about in the Critique of Pure Reason. There's the phenomenal world and noumenal world, but the only reason we care about the phenomenal world is because it's for our continuation as a species. And so even if the stories in the Bible aren't literally true, they represent a metaphysical substrate, which
Jackie, hold on. What did I ask? Just curious if words are coming out of my mouth in a way that can be understood, and maybe things are. What did I ask you?
You asked how I go from the utility of religion to our survival and to our phenomenology, and how that represents. Does it actually point to anything supernatural? What evidence can I provide that demonstrates anything transcendent metaphysically?
Okay, cool. All right, so you vaguely yeah, okay. Go get there, do it. Cut to the end. ... Let's go.
The transcendent is that which is not which is not constrained by time and space. And so, if religious archetypes are beyond time and space, they represent eternal truth, or truths which consistently.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. You and I.
You're using the word empty. What you're using the word truth in place of empty, unsupported assertion.
Is the divinity of the individual, is the idea that the individual is sovereign and has dignity because they're human being, an empty assertion? Is the idea that truth will set you free an empty assertion?
Even if that's true, that doesn't speak to what you were just saying. The truths
that's what
that you just mentioned are not truths at all. They are assumptions, and they're not supported. They're asserted, but not supported. And you know what we'll call it when you assert something is true that is not evidently true, or when it's not even possible, when you pretend to know things you don't know? You know what we call that? We don't call it truths. There's quite a different word. Matter of fact, it's the very opposite word of truth. We call those lies.
Do you believe the idea that individual human beings have dignity is a lie? Is that
I don't. So
it's not remotely what I just said. I said empty, unsupported assertions of impossible absurdity are lies. They are not truths.
Well, what I just said was what religion says, and that is a truth.
No, but we're not having the same, Jackie. We're not having the same conversation.
Yeah.
If you are basically again, you are advocating for utility of religion. And I keep asking, does that mean that there is a supernatural entity out there who presumably created the universe? An actual being? You are giving me weird Jordan Peterson stuff.
There is a being who created the universe. It's Heidegger's
you are not getting there.
Being there.
Right now you're just an assertion. You've just made an assertion with nothing to back it up but your own assumptions.
What is Dasein? What is the being that illuminates all other beings? What is being?
I don't know that there is one. Like this is Jackie, tell me why I should think there is one, and then we will talk about who it is.
So are either of you gentlemen familiar with Heideggerian ontology?
No.
You're on your own, Paul. I can't.
Well, Jackie, go ahead. One last shot. You need to connect. You need to, in this instance, connect the dot for me from anything you've said to why I, Paul, should think that there is a supernatural being that created the universe. Go.
Okay. So in Heidegger's book, Being in Time, he discusses the question about Dasein, or being in the world, and authenticity. And basically, one of Heidegger's concepts is that the problem with contemporary science and contemporary philosophy is that it focuses on individual beings, but it doesn't focus on the being itself. And I would argue religious cosmogonic models and metatruths represent being itself, or how human beings understand being itself. Now, I disagree with Heidegger's conclusions in how he applies that politically. And so I'm more sympathetic to say someone Karl Jaspers because of his anti-totalitarian tendencies. But I do believe there is some transcendent thing that all human beings classify as being itself and is outside of spatiotemporality.
Okay, so I understood your question. Everything you just said came to me differently. Paul asked a question, and you used 50 words to say no. Is there a reason to believe this God exists? Mumbo jumbo bullshit. If somebody, some philosopher said who doesn't know what they're talking about says this, somebody else who doesn't know what they're talking about says that, blah, 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 blah. Nothing gets to the point. So the answer is question. No, that's what you gave us. No, there's no reason to believe that a God exists.
You basically, Jackie, you gave you're ended with, therefore you think it's true. My question was, why should I think that it's true? So answering the question why you think it's true doesn't help.
The reason I think you should think it's true is because the question of being itself is one of the most fundamental questions of metaphysics, and engaging with being itself. You don't know me very well, but that's fair because you don't know me. That's fine. Don't care about that. What I care about is what can be hard demonstrated. I don't have that kind of existential, so I am okay with energy, or whatever our cosmos fundamental principle is, being a brute fact.
Yeah,
I don't spend any time wondering about what's beyond that brute fact, because I came to realize that all gods are brute facts.
What you said is the most fundamental is, to me, irrelevant.
So, cool. Jackie, you maybe just called into two hardheads who are just, not as intellectually curious as you. Or
I don't think you're hardheads. I just don't think I'm communicating.
Or you are perhaps ruminating about things that don't matter, and everyone in the audience can figure out
the question of being. The question of being gets us nowhere. We have a universe in which a God created everything, and in which a God exists, or outside of it exists, envelops us, however you want to put it. And we have a universe in which God is entirely imaginary. The question of being remains in both cases. So that doesn't get us to whether there's a God or not.
Well, God's traditionally defined as being itself, or the basis for being itself.
No, now you're trying to define your God in existence.
Yeah, your God is a brute fact, right? Your God is a brute fact.
Yeah, a non-spatiotemporal
cool.
being itself.
Yeah, so brute fact. And I think that energy is an equally has equal explanatory power and can be a brute fact. So, and there's probably lots of other people who could come up with brute facts that have equal explanatory power. So where does that get us?
Yeah, and I won't even give brute fact. The God is an empty assertion. It's not a fact. It's just assumed.
Well, but in his, like if I'm doing an internal critique, right, his worldview, God necessarily is just a brute fact.
Yeah, and in mine, it's completely irrelevant.
Right. Well, obviously. But so you understand why everything terminates in a brute fact. And so this whole existential angst about being isn't resolved no matter the worldview. There's no potential worldview that answers
I would actually
beyond brute fact.
The angst is helped by religion. So if you're familiar with Soren Kierkegaard,
yeah, that's utility. That's utility. That's not solved. That's just you're talking about a way to alleviate the angst. So
yeah, and if you're familiar with the book by some other guy who doesn't know what they're talking about, well, I don't care.
Like you're saying a solution to angst specifically, and Kierkegaard in his writings talks about the solution to angst being a leap of faith towards the eternal, and by taking this leap of faith, by taking care of.
If I said I'm looking for a solution to angst, I misspoke. I don't have any angst. I thought I was quite clear. I have zero angst about the brute fact.
Yeah,
I'm not looking for.
You are demonstrating. All of your arguments are demonstrating why I have virtually no interest in philosophy. You are the example of why I don't pursue philosophy.
But it is possible, Jackie, that Aron and I are the wrong ones. So carry on. I don't think we are, but you can, perhaps we'll be one day convinced otherwise. But for now, we don't care, and you didn't give us a reason to care. So I think we got to move on.
Yes, indeed.
Eric, do you want to learn how to Mongolian throat sing? Check this out.
No, you try. No, keep that shit to yourself. Don't hear it.
Anyway, thanks for watching that clip. Patreon.com/calltheline is where you could support us. And maybe you should subscribe and like the video because it was a killer video. Or maybe it wasn't. Was it a Forrest video? If this was a Forrest video, you don't have to click like. If it was an Eric video, go ahead and click dislike.